welcome back. So what we're looking at today is lesson 17, two related quantities, part 2. So let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so what we're looking at here is walking through the library. Diego, oops, I don't have it moved where it should be. The walkathon. There we go. So, Diego, Elena, and Andre participated in a walkathon to raise money for cancer research. They each walked at a constant rate, but their rates were different. Complete the table to show how far each participant walked during the walkathon. So, if we look at this, we need to be able to see kind of the rate. So, we know that in 2 hours, Diego walked 6 miles. So, in 1 hour, he would have walked 3. So if he walked 12 miles, if in 1 hour he walked 3, 12 miles would be how many hours? That would be 4, because 4 times 3 is 12. All right, Elena in 4 hours walked 11 miles. So if we take 11 and divide it by 4, we'll get 2.75. So that's how much she walked in 1 hour. So then we double that. So 2.75 times 2 would be 5.5. So that's how many miles she walked in 2 hours. So then for 5 hours, take 5.5, multiply it by 5. We're going to get, not 5.5. Take the 2.75 and multiply it by 5, and we'll get 13.75. And then here, 3 times 5 is 15. And now we need to know Andre. So Andre walked 17.5 miles in 5 hours. And so we're going to divide those. When we divide, we end up with 3.5. So that's his unit rate. Remember, when we find out of 1, that gives us our unit rate. So then 3.5 times 2 is 7. 3.5 times 4 is 14. And then we already know the 5-hour one. So how fast was each participant walking in miles per hour? Well, Diego was 3 miles per hour. So Diego, 3 miles per hour. That's supposed to be an M. Elena was 2.75. Elena, 2.75 miles per hour. And Andre was 3.5 miles per hour. How long did it take each participant to walk 1 mile? So to find 1 mile, right now, we know 1 hour, but we don't know 1 mile. So that would mean we're going to take and divide our hours by 3. So 3 and 2.75 and 3.5. So for Diego, it would take him 1/3 of an hour to walk it. For Elena, it would take her 4/11ths of an hour. And for Andre, it would take him 2/7ths of an hour. So now we want to take and graph the progress of each person in the coordinate plane. So here is our coordinate plane. We're going to take and graph this out. So we've got our time in hours and the distance walked. So in 1 hour, we know that Diego went the 3 miles. And in 2 hours, he went 6. And in 4 hours, he went 12. And in 5 hours, it was up at 15. So this, I'm going to attempt to draw this line, hopefully. It's a little wobbly, but I'm trying. Okay, kind of, sort of. So this was Diego. So Diego's line, change the color for us. So now for Elena, she was 2.75 miles in 1 hour, so almost to 3. but not quite. And then at 2 hours, she was at 5.5. And at 4 hours, she was at 11. And at 5 hours, she was at 13.75. So right about there. So Elena, pretty close at the beginning, but as time went on, got a little more separate. So there's Elena's. And now Andres, we'll make him purple. He was at 3.5 at 1 hour. So 3.5. 7 at 2. 14 at 4. And 17.5 at 5 hours. So there is Andres. So we can see from the graph the differences. Who had that faster rate? So we can see this one was on top, so it had the faster rate. He was growing at a faster pace. So his ratio was larger. So ratio is your key word for this lesson, ratio. All right. Diego says that D equals 3T represents his walk, where D is the distance walked in miles and T is the time in hours. Explain why D equals 3T relates the distance Diego walked to the time it took. So Diego walked 3 hours, Diego walked 3 miles in 1 hour. So it makes sense, so you can multiply the number of hours by 3 to find that distance. So write 2 equations that relate distance and time, one for Elena, one for Andre. So Elena, remember, she could take and walk 2.75 miles in 1 hour. So D equals 2.75 T. And Andres would be D equals 3.5 T. Taking each of their times, multiplying it by the number of miles they could go in 1 hour to find out their total distance. So now we're going to use it to predict the 8 hours. So 8 times 3 for Diego would be 24 miles. Elena, we'd take 8 times the 2.75, which would give us 22 miles. And Andre, 8 times 3.5 would give us 28 miles. So Andre would definitely go the furthest. All right. For Diego's equation and the equations you wrote, which is the dependent variable and which is the independent? So time is our independent variable. It doesn't rely on anything else in the equation. Oops, it is the independent. And distance is the dependent because it relies on the time. So the more time they spend walking, the greater the distance. The less time, the smaller the distance. So understanding those there. All right. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Have a wonderful day.